Thanks for the support as a channel member, Dylan Holiday. No more negativity after yesterday's episode. We've actually started to put together something of a comeback. I still think we're probably going to get relegated, but we might actually be putting up a little bit of a fight. Hello and welcome to Club 3, part 17 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have two games in the Premier League. We're at home against Bournemouth and away against West Ham. Since you were last with me, this is what has happened. You can see, miraculously, 3 consecutive Premier League wins, including an absurd 6-0, which I will show you in a second. We've since lost 2 and drawn 1, including an equally absurd 6-2 defeat away against Birmingham. So we're still incredibly inconsistent. What we've done, though, is as of the Swansea game, we've just gone back to last season's tactic, the 4-2-3-1, gegenpress, control system. Tillman can play in the attacking midfield role. Chong can play in the attacking midfield role. But the most important change is we've brought Jacob Brown back into the team, and he scored and was instrumental in the defeat of Swansea. In fact, if we get the LOLLUJO view on, you'll see that he then scored again twice against Crystal Palace in that victory. He then scored again in the 6-0 win against West Brom. I want to show you the 6-0 win because the main reason it happened is because they had a player sent off after 2 minutes. So we were playing against 10 men for the majority of the game. So it was a relatively straightforward 6-0 win, but Brown instrumental in that again. We then lost to Liverpool, as you would expect. It was a lot tighter than you would think. They only scored their second goal in the 89th minute. We did get Hornby sent off after half an hour as well. So to compete to that level with 10 men I was pretty happy with that. And then we've struggled in the last 2 games without having Hornby, trying to work out what to do up front. Brivio, pretty clear he's not a Premier League striker. I would draw against Everton from 2-0 down after 5 minutes. Not too bad. Again, another red card in that game helped us make it back in. And of course, another Jacob Brown goal. And then this one was just silly. Again, it was a relatively close game until it wasn't, and we went 1-0 up. Birmingham equalised and then went ahead just after half time. But then in the second half, they went 3-1 up. We dragged it back to 3-2, and then they made it 4-2 on 70 minutes, and then 2 more goals in the last 4 minutes of the game. I think it is a little. That flattered Birmingham a little bit. If we have a look at the stats, you'll see we controlled possession. We had almost as many shots as them. We played quite well in that game, but again, really struggled from having Brivio up front. So what that means is the league table now looks like this. 16 games in. We're still well away from the Kev ratio. We're only on 11 points, but you'll see that there are 7 teams nowhere near the Kev ratio. So it might be that we don't need to get to 38 points to guarantee survival. It might be that because there's so many poor teams in this division, maybe 35 points would be enough. Maybe 32 points would be enough. But we're obviously going to be aiming for the 38 and trying to survive that way. And that's why today's game is so important, because at home against Bournemouth, who are a team directly above us, we need to pick up a victory. And then in the second game in today's video, away against West Ham, who are another team not a million miles above us, we then face Sheffield United away, who are again just above us. We need, by the halfway point of this season, so those 3 games, I think we need to be on, let's say, 17 points by the halfway point of the season, which means we need to pick up 6 points out of the next 3 matches, which is certainly a tall order. And this is the team we're putting out there to try and do that. Still without Hornby, who's still suspended from when he got sent off, but we are giving up with Brivio as a Premier League striker for now and trying Oko Flex up front. So we're going with Hilson in goal, a back 4 of left Williams, Stevens, Tanganga and right Williams, Moat and McGeehan in midfield, Chong, Tillman and Brown behind Oko Flex up front, just to show you Jacob Brown's form since he's been in the team. I mean, the reason we weren't playing him before was because we brought in Oko Flex and Tillman in the summer. We still had Chong. We were only playing with 2 players in these attacking midfield positions. It was just hard to justify having him in. But obviously in this system, we've got all 4 of them in the team, which means there's room for Brown. And realistically, Brown stays in the team regardless now, because it's pretty clear. He's been our top scorer for the last 2 years. Actually, no, Hornby was last year. It was our top scorer the year before. It's pretty clear he's he's one of our best players, if not our most important game-changing player. So let's get into this game and cross everything and hope that after the nonsense that happened against Birmingham, we haven't taken too much of a hit to our confidence and our morale, and we can somehow find a way to drag a result out of the Bournemouth game. If we don't, then I see trouble ahead again. Right, I do expect to see a much better performance today. I absolutely tore into them after the Birmingham game, so I'm hoping we can use that as a motivator to help us grab a result against Bournemouth. I struggle to see where goals are coming from without Hornby. I mean, and it's not even as if Hornby was scoring the goals, but playing as a complete forward with those three behind him, he was holding the ball up really well and just playing as a big lad up front and creating space for those behind him. And we're not going to get that out of Brivio or Okoflex. And I think he had a major contribution towards the upturn in form from Chong, from Tillman, and of course the goals from Brown, because the act of Hornby being there creates space behind him. And I mean, this is our first time starting Okoflex as a striker. It'll be interesting to see if he can have the same influence up there. Chong picking up an injury early on. You can see we're so low on players now that young Malloy has made it up onto the bench. Our youth player, who we sold to Wolves, who are now below us in the league, and is here on loan for the year as we try and figure out a way to get him back. McGeehan's in a huge amount of space, and McGeehan scores, and that is an incredibly important goal. 32 minutes on the clock. It's Barnsley 1, Bournemouth 0, and any second now we'll see that league table tick over so we can see just what kind of difference this will make to the league table, and it will be a huge one if we can hold on and secure a victory here today. It's a lovely finish from McGee, and he was in acres of space, and this is what it does to the league table. So as things stand, it puts us up to 15th place, 3 points ahead of the relegation zone, which is certainly not anywhere we expected to be at the end of yesterday's episode. Like I say, that we are coming back to life, and even if we don't win today, we're showing sparks of maybe trying to put up a little bit of a fight, and it's exactly what I said in yesterday's episode. There was no point defending and getting relegated. We may as well, if we're probably going to get relegated anyway, and I still think we'll probably get relegated, but it's nice to go down swinging, playing the 4-2-3-1 gegenpress, doing a bit of attacking, scoring a few goals along the way, having the odd fun match and fun episode, and then if we still end up going down, then so be it, but at least we've gone down doing it our way. Williams now with the throw finds Brown. Brown's been very quiet today after all of the talk of him before the match, but here's Tillman with space to run into. Tillman creating a lovely opportunity for himself here, and it falls to I thought that was Okoflex. It's not, it's McGeehan. I don't even know why he's there, but he's scored his second goal of the game, basically playing as the centre forward in that move. I know he's a box-to-box midfielder, but what is he doing there? And more importantly, where is Okoflex? That is Okoflex. I don't know why he stood there. He's playing as an advanced forward. He's not even in the penalty area when that tap-in happens. That must make him the worst centre forward in the history of the world. But McGeehan doesn't care because he noticed the gap that was created by it and went up there and grabbed his second of the game. And that is massively, massively important. McGeehan, it's like a return to the McGeehan of old. Williams now plays it forward, looking for Chong, but Chong is struggling with his injury and is a little bit slow to react. Okoflex and Chong both closing down the keeper there, and it falls to Brown. Brown trying to beat his man and looking for a cross, can't get the cross in, but there's Williams on the follow-up, and Chong is there, and the ball's bobbling around in the area, and a fully fit Chong maybe has the spring in his step to score there. I think we are going to have to take Chong off, probably drop Okoflex out to that wing and go with Brivio up front again, which, as we've seen in recent games, is far from ideal. But Chong looks like he's really struggling. He's got a thigh injury. We are going to bring Brivio on. We're going to stick Okoflex back there. He can then hover around there as an inside forward, which clearly he wants to play a little bit deeper. We'll let Brivio be a poacher. We'll try and play him in his natural role just to see if we can get anything out of him. I mean, it is playing in the Premier League this year is too soon for Brivio. 2 years ago, he was on loan to League One and looked like an absolute world beater. He came into us last year as a fringe player in the Championship. Really, for his own development, he should be out on loan to a championship club this year, not trying to make it in the Premier League at his age with his level of experience. But needs must. We don't have another striker, and Bournemouth have a goal back here. And I mean, there's no one to blame, but it would be nice for us to grab a third just to calm the nerves a little bit. Okoflex would be the obvious person to come off next, but we just don't have another attacking player to bring on for him. You could argue bring another central midfielder on and drop back. I mean, that probably is the sensible thing to do, but we all saw what happened when we played that way before. It just wasn't effective. Who have we got who can come on in midfield? Where are all the midfielders? We've got all these defenders and then no midfielders and attackers to bring on. Malloy would be the only one. And surely he's not ready. Currently operating at championship level. Do I really want to bring Brandon Malloy on to play in a game as important as this one? We could bring on a third centre-back. We've got Diaby down on the bench and Fry. Or even either of them could probably play as the holding midfielder. We could stick Fry in there. Or Diaby. Let's bring Fry on. So we're going to go to the Gegenpress. We're still going to Gegenpress. But we're going to take Okoflex off. And we're going to bring, in fact, the assistant manager says Diaby. We'll bring Diaby on in there, but we don't want him to be the playmaker. We want him to sit in there as a halfback, doing some proper defending. And then Mowat can be the playmaker further forward. And we'll do this. Brivio. In fact, he can be a pressing forward. And we're going to do that. We're just running out of attacking players. I hope fiddling with a system that's working doesn't cause us problems. Brown plays it forward, looking for Brivio, I think, but it didn't get anywhere near him. And we, the other thing, of course, if we concede a goal here, I don't want to go more defensive. We'll have to cancel the changes. Tillman looking for Brivio. Brivio is in here. If he can score, he can silence my nonsense. Of course, he can't, though, because he's not ready for the Premier League. I think that's certainly something we need to be doing in January. We've got 12 million pounds to spend. We need to bring in a proven Premier League striker. Not necessarily, we're not going to get a world-class one, but just someone who could get 10 goals in a season in the Premier League. And we're going to bring Fry on for Tanganga. Just a Premier League player who will score occasionally and send Brivio out on loan. It kills two birds with one stone then. And we get someone a little bit more reliable than Brivio for situations like this when Hornby's not available. And Okoflex, it's pretty clear he's not going to work as a striker, I don't think, at this stage. I'm pretty worried about Okoflex in general because we spent so much money on him, mainly because of his name. But then we do get to send Brivio out on loan and hopefully get some confidence and some goals back into him, because I do think he will eventually come good for us and become a Premier League striker. Mowat now with the corner. And Brivio's there! I told you he'd come good eventually. We just didn't know exactly what timescale eventually was working on. It's his first ever Premier League goal in the 92nd minute, and it couldn't be a more important goal. It's Barnsley 3, Bournemouth 1. We've picked up another victory on our scratching and clawing to safety campaign. We've got 3 of the 6 points we need from these next couple of games just to get us to where we want to be at that halfway point of the season. And like I said in the intro, we're starting to show a little bit of life. Brown is in here, and I thought Brown was going to grab a fourth, and that would have been a little bit unfair on Bournemouth. Although looking at the stats, we've had 4 clear-cut chances to their 2. So, if we score 4, they should have scored 2. That would have been fair then. But they're now coming at us again, Williams. Williams has been an absolute revelation at left-back, by the way. I know it's confusing having 2 Williamses as our fullbacks, but Williams has been one of the absolute star men of this little bit of a comeback that we're on. Williams and Brown, the 2 of them together, have kind of come into the team and been huge difference makers. And I think we've probably seen the end of left Brown and Burke as regular starting left backs, because Williams has pretty much made that position his own. But a big thumbs up to everybody involved in today's game. That is another massive, massive result. And now, hopefully, we can go and do the same thing against West Ham, because that would be absolutely splendid. For the West Ham game, though, little bit of England news. So we've played a couple more games. We got our revenge. I was going to say on Wales, but it was Norway. So we already had our revenge on Wales, beating them 5-1. But we absolutely battered Norway 7-1 with 5 goals from Harry Kane. It was only in the last episode I said I was going to be phasing Harry Kane out in favour of Keith Crown, his Tottenham teammate. Kane's proving he's still got a little bit of life left in him yet. And we then lost to France to leave our Nations League group. We finished second. I thought these used to be 3-team groups, but clearly they're now 4-team groups. No one tells me when these things change, but we didn't get qualified, we didn't get relegated, the FA don't seem to care, and we now have our draw for our World Cup qualifiers, where we're in a group with Montenegro, Greece, Gibraltar, Lithuania and Wales once again. So it's a group that you would expect we should be able to make our way out of that group relatively easily and book a spot at the World Cup, which takes place 2 years' time. Couple of changes for the West Ham game then as players return from injury or suspension in the case of Hornby. So Hornby is back, comes in up front. Flex moves out to the left wing. Chong, who hasn't really trained all week because of the injury he picked up in the last game, he is fit enough for the bench, but Flex can go out there for the start of the game. And did you think I'd forgotten about him? Rinamata, who was injured for the last game, is now fit again to start. So McGeehan, who scored twice in that... What am I doing? What am I doing there? It just feels like the right thing to do. He's my boy. Rinamata, he's the man. I can already feel the comment section. But, you know, if it works, it works. They've got the whole of the Coventry team in their central midfield, which I'm not necessarily worried about that. There you go. Carry straight on from where you finished the last game. I'm hoping Hornby back is going to breathe new life into that attacking midfield three, who were, I mean, the front four in general looked amazing for those 3 games they were together, culminating in that 6-0 demolition of West Brom. And Rinamata was involved in all of that. So I'm not a crazy person by bringing him back in. It's not completely without context and without reason. He was one of the other ones who came back into the team for that little run. Because, you know, he's a player who, when we play him, we do well. Although McGeehan showing in the last game that I think it's just if we play a box-to-box midfielder, we do all right. And we've got 2 that are quite good. Just you lot all think McGeehan's better. Which, I mean, there's not a lot of argument with it. Hornby's in here, though, and Hornby scores. And the 24th minute, it's only his 3rd goal of the season, but he is very keen to be back involved in this team again, who were just returning to form when he got himself sent off. He's missed 3.5 games since then. And is now back looking like a player who's ready to score some Premier League goals. I know it's only his 3rd one, but it was completely made by himself, no longer being forced to play as a pressing forward, so he closed down the goalkeeper. I mean, I'm doing it because I want to now, therefore I'm suddenly better at it. But the important thing is that does put us 1-0 up against West Ham away from home. Remember, we've got Sheffield United next. We could, and I don't want to get too excited, we could conceivably be ahead of the Kev ratio by the halfway point of the season if we can hold on to this score. Say Hornby's in again there, but that was much more like it from Hornby. Mowat hitting the post from miles out. It falls to Hornby, who's got an open goal ahead of him, and he scuffed it. So that's the Hornby we all know and love. But if we do manage to hold on and win this game and then beat Sheffield United, we'll be on 20 points at the 19 game mark, which, I mean, if you'd have offered us that pre-season, we would have taken that all day. I'd have taken 15 points at the halfway point. And we're already, again, if we can hold on to this result, ahead of that. So things all of a sudden, what a contrast to yesterday's episode, because all of a sudden, things are looking up again here at Barnsley. This is, what a time to be a Barnsley fan. West Ham is not really showing anything in this game. Right, substitution o'clock. We're going to take off Flex, bring on Chong. Flex I am really worried about, by the way. I've spent a lot of money, a record signing for Barnsley, £11.75 million. We've tried playing him as a striker. We've tried playing him as a winger. He's averaging 6.44. He's not scored, not got an assist. This is not the player that was playing for Celtic and playing for Derby. I'm worried. We might have to try and sell him on. We're also going to take off Tillman. I'm tempted to bring McGeehan on and drop back to the defensive midfielder, but do I bring Beera on? I think we bring Beera on and just keep the system looking the same. I might end up regretting that, but I don't want to drop back to a 4-3-3 too often. And there you go. I've got horrible memories of the 4-3-3 not working at all. So I'm kind of loath to use it if we've got players who can come on and not make me use it. But I mean, I don't think playing a defensive midfielder makes us less likely to concede from that corner. So in actual fact, having more attacking players on the pitch might help when it comes to trying to go and grab a winner. Not that we need to grab a winner. A draw here would be a fantastic result. A defeat, I'll be like, yeah, well, it's away against West Ham. We were probably working to lose. So I'm not necessarily worried. The important one is that we find a way to beat Sheffield United. That's what we were budgeting for at the start of the episode. Chong just kind of lost his way a little bit on that run. Looked like he was doing very well, and then all of a sudden he wasn't doing very well. West Ham are in again here though. They're through, and from a very unlikely angle, very nearly got that into the back of the net. Hornby with some brilliant hold-up play again though, finds Rinomhota, who releases Chong down this left-hand side. Hornby is charging to try and catch up, but once again Chong just kind of runs for a bit and then runs into one of their players. We are going to do the usual Rinomhota for McGeehan with 10 minutes to go, and the crowd goes wild. Let's get some creativity. Now we've got a more creative central midfielder in there. West Ham are trying to come at us and grab a winner here. Understandably, they would be absolutely expecting to win this game, and there they are with a goal that puts them ahead 2-1 with 10 minutes left. I'm still not worried. Like I said, this is the one we were supposed to lose out of the three. We wanted 6 points from the next 3 games. Sheffield United at home. It's the kind of game where if we can't beat Sheffield United at home, we shouldn't be staying in the Premier League anyway. And you don't necessarily say that about West Ham away. Stevens across to Tanganga, who's looking for Brown, who's been so quiet this episode after all of the huge intro I gave him. Brown tried to slot it through to Hornby. It didn't make it there, and Mowatt's got it again in midfield. Back to Tanganga. Tanganga playing it out towards Williams, who crosses over looking for Chong. I think it does fall for Chong, who should have scored. That was a big opportunity for Chong. You can see on the match stats, we've had 2 clear-cut chances to their 0. To be fair, they've had 7 half chances, so it's not like we've dominated the game and feel hard done by. But all the same, Chong should have scored there. It should be 2-2. And at the moment, Tanganga's not on the pitch because he's off getting some treatment for an injury. And we don't have any more substitutions to use. We don't have anyone on the pitch who could potentially play centre-back. So we need to hope he's okay. I think I did just see him trot back on. Felipe Anderson was off for West Ham as well. So we were both temporarily down to 10 men. We need to try and we should be doing 10 minutes of passion. What have I wasted a shout on? Give me some passion, for goodness sake. 10 minutes of passion. And this is looking like our last opportunity. 30 seconds left on the clock. Williams plays it into Tanganga, who is now carrying a knock, playing it forward to Brown. Beera out to Williams again. If we can get a good cross in here, Hornby is lurking. Cross comes in. I think it's actually Chong who went for that and missed it. And now West Ham trying to break down our left-hand side. It doesn't really matter whether they score or not here because there's no time for us to go up the other end and equalise now. I'm taking a lot of positives from a defeat here. I do wonder if we'd have maybe made the more defensive substitution. Would we maybe have got a draw? Maybe. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people telling me I made the wrong choice there. Maybe I did. But either way, I'm still very happy with the outcome of this episode. Fingers crossed we go on to beat... Oh, it's Sheffield United away. I thought we were home against them. But then Wolves away. We should win both of those. If we're going to stay up, we've got to win both of those. So we've got some big games coming up. And then a relatively quiet January looking at that. And I think we'll probably come back after January because that'll give us 6 Premier League games, whatever we can conjure up in the FA Cup, plus some transfers to have a look at when we are back on Monday. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.